From the local station, News 4 Jax starts now.
A live look for you right now at the White House. In a little more than 3 hours, President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden will be walking out onto the balcony and watching fireworks.
It is capping off a historic day for new beginnings for America. Starting tomorrow, the Biden-Harris administration, though, will face unprecedented challenges. The transfer of power took place in Washington this afternoon among heightened security. And in the back of everyone's mind, a pandemic that has now taken more than 400,000 lives. Now, because of the pandemic, there were a lot of changes compared to typical inauguration ceremonies, but organizers made sure that all the protocols were put into place.
Karen Kafa joining us live in Washington, D.C. Karen, tell us more about this historic event.
Good evening, Joy and Tarek. It was certainly an unusual inauguration, but a lot of the pomp and pageantry was still there. And now President Biden has already gotten down to work. We got our first glimpse of him behind the Resolute desk in the Oval Office today, signing off on 17 executive actions.
After me.
In an inaugural speech nearly 5 decades in the making, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. said this day is not about him.
Today, we celebrate the triumph not of a candidate, but of a cause, the cause of democracy.
Delivering remarks on the west front of the U.S. Capitol, looking out on a national mall not filled with people, but with flags, Biden, now the 46th president of the United States, acknowledging extraordinary challenges that face the nation and his presidency.
To overcome these challenges, to restore the soul and secure the future of America, requires so much more than words. It requires the most elusive of all things in a democracy, unity.
His partner in governing, Kamala Harris, the first woman and first woman of color to serve as vice president of the United States.
I, Kamala Davy Harris, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support and defend the Constitution.
Inaugural festivities subdued due to COVID-19 and extraordinary security precautions. But today, a new chapter. Leaders of both parties looking on as the Biden administration seeks to unify a divided, grieving nation.
May God bless America, and may God protect our troops.
And among the executive directives that President Biden just signed off on include a mask mandate for federal properties to help combat the coronavirus pandemic, and also a promise for the U.S. to re-enter the Paris Climate Agreement. And by the end of this evening, it looks as though the Senate may have confirmed Joe Biden's first cabinet pick. It looks like the Director of National Intelligence nominee, Avril Haines, could be headed for a vote by the end of the evening. Certainly an important one. Tarek and Joy.
Yes, well, let's talk about Joe Biden's inaugural address. Talk about his planning for this speech, nearly 50 years in the making, but also very influenced by current events in just the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely, Joy. You think of the stark contrast between the pictures we saw from the Capitol just 2 weeks ago and then what we saw today. Obviously, Joe Biden, a long career here in Washington, in the U.S. Senate, and as vice president. So something with 3 presidential bids in his past, something he thought about for a very long time. But you're absolutely right. In the last 2 weeks, Biden really thinking about what happened at the Capitol and the state of the nation right now. We understand that he really started drafting the inaugural address just as soon as the election was called in his favor back in November. But the speech that we heard today really drew upon some of the themes he's been talking about since he announced his 2020 presidential bid and got into the Democratic primary. Remember, he talked a lot about the soul of the nation. This was something, if you followed Biden during his primary bid, you heard this a lot. And he said it really went back to his reaction to President Trump's reaction to what happened in Charlottesville back in 2017. And President Biden was just absolutely stunned to hear President Trump describe how he thought there were fine people on both sides of what happened there. And that was what really motivated Joe Biden to get off the sidelines and get into the presidential race. And so today we heard a speech where Biden acknowledged that he has a lot of work to do, that the country has a lot of work to do, but really moving in the kind of direction towards a kind of character that Biden feels he can provide as a leader, but also that he hopes to see not only for the people who voted for him, but also those who did not.
Karen, former President Trump notably not attending today's ceremony, but what about the other people, specifically Republicans who did? Well, what does that signal to the rest of the country?
Yeah, most notably, Tarek, we saw Vice President Mike Pence attend the inauguration ceremony. Of course, there was that notable split he made with President Trump when he told him that he was going to uphold his oath, uphold the Constitution, and take part on January 6th in doing his role to certify the electoral vote count. So seeing him was a big message to a lot of people, to see him there on the dais, and especially when they exited the Capitol today. You saw Vice President Pence and his wife Karen take a moment with Vice President Kamala Harris and her husband Doug Emhoff. You saw them chatting amicably. You heard a laugh or two there. So really trying to make that bridge there. There were also a number of members of the Republican Party who did not vote to certify the electoral vote count 2 weeks ago. Some of them saying it was important to have that show that even though they disagreed with what happened, that they still believe there should be a peaceful transfer of power. So again, the bridges to be built and the healing to be done doesn't just talk about the millions of Americans out there. It also talks about the work that needs to be done on Capitol Hill. So certainly congressional leadership, especially trying to do their part to be there today and signify that they are ready to move forward, most of them, with the Biden administration.
All right, Karen Kafer reporting live for us. Karen, thanks for that insight. After the inauguration, Mr. Biden and Harris were joined by former presidents Barack Obama, George W. Bush, Bill Clinton to lay a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. A military soldier there playing taps. Before that happened, Mr. Biden and Harris each touched the wreath. The president then made the sign of the cross before saluting. Before President Biden got to Arlington National Cemetery, some people noticed a new license plate on the presidential limo. It has the number 46 on it. Sitting below the 46 is the slogan, "Taxation without representation." Former President Bill Clinton put this phrase on presidential vehicles in his final weeks as president.
As Joe Biden receives congratulations on being sworn in as president, the memory of his son, Beau, lives on. During his inauguration speech, this picture was taken of a man in a blue uniform. He's kneeling at the grave of Beau Biden at the St. Joseph on the Brandywine Church in Delaware. The man kept his head bowed before and after the speech. No one else was at the ceremony except for a few workers doing maintenance. Beau Biden died at the age of 46 in 2015 because of cancer. He has served as Delaware Attorney General, and he was also a member of the Delaware National Guard. The president said his son should have been running for president instead of him. We're getting an inside look at Biden's first act as president. He signaled 3 executive orders while in the president's room at the Capitol. This was just after his swearing-in ceremony, and then he signed 17 executive orders at the White House, including reversing the construction of Donald Trump's border wall, a reversal of a travel ban for majority Muslim countries, and rejoining the Paris Climate Accord. Biden is set to act on 53 executive items over the next 10 days.
Kamala Harris is settling into her new role as the first woman to serve as vice president. Earlier today, she was escorted by Eugene Goodman. Here you see him in the brown jacket. Goodman has become a familiar face on social media. He's the police officer who lured the rioters away from senators during the Capitol siege 2 weeks ago. And now he's taken on a new role as acting deputy House Sergeant at Arms. Harris's ancestral Indian village is celebrating her historic accomplishment. A small village watched the inauguration ceremony, sending positive prayers and setting off fireworks. At times, they chanted, "Long live Kamala Harris," while holding portraits of her. Earlier in the day, the village held a prayer and decorated its temple with flowers.
The White House is officially undergoing a makeover. Some members of the president's staff began to unpack before he even arrived at the White House today. The hallway in the West Wing used to be framed with pictures of the Trump administration, but as you see there, it was quickly replaced with gold-framed pictures of Biden's last speech in Delaware and last night's COVID-19 memorial at the National Mall. It was a historic day for people other than Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. The nation's first ever poet laureate called for unity as she spoke at the inauguration. 22-year-old Amanda Gorman read her poem entitled "The Hill We Climb."
When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace, and the norms and notions of what just is isn't always just is. And yet the dawn is hours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country and a time where a skinny black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother can dream of becoming president, only to find herself reciting for one.
Gorman started writing poems when she was just a child, but she found it terrifying to perform because of a speech impediment she had. She overcame that fear, she says, by drawing confidence from Martin Luther King Jr. and former President Barack Obama.
Congressional leaders are offering their congratulations to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They presented the pair a variety of gifts, including a pair of commemorative vases, both of them weighing 32 pounds each, made by Lennox. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell also gifted the duo this pair of U.S. flags flown over the Capitol during the inauguration. We still have much more inauguration coverage coming up. Later tonight at 8, we'll have our own News4JAX special, Inauguration Day 2021. Then at 8:30, a special called Celebrating America will be hosted by Tom Hanks. This 90-minute primetime program will feature remarks from President Biden, Vice President Harris, along with appearances from a number of celebrities. First, though, coming up at 7 o'clock, the new press secretary, Jen Psaki, will hold her first briefing. We will bring that to you here live right on Channel 4 and on News4JAX.com. Still ahead, while much of the spotlight has been on Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, Donald Trump has laid relatively low. After the break, we'll bring you his final message to Americans as president and tell you where he goes from here. New at 6:30, Vice President Kamala Harris is taking her first action in the U.S. Senate. She swore in 3 new senators. This gives control of the chamber to Democrats. The new senators are John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, who won the runoffs in Georgia, and also former California Secretary of State Alex Padilla. Padilla is taking over Harris's former seat. As the nation turns the page on his presidency, Donald Trump is settling in his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida. He took his last ride on Air Force One after departing the White House on Marine One. Marine One dropped Trump off at Joint Base Andrews, where he gave a farewell speech to a crowd before leaving. He hinted that he won't be disappearing entirely from public life.
I wish the new administration great luck and great success. I think they'll have great success. Just a goodbye. We love you. We will be back in some form.
His departure came just hours before the swearing in of President Biden and Vice President Harris. Trump is the first president to skip his successor's inauguration since 1869. The departure of the Trump administration included welcome letters from Trump, his wife Melania, and 17 GOP lawmakers. According to one person, Trump did not show his note to many of his aides. Melania left a short note welcoming incoming First Lady Joe Biden. The 17 GOP lawmakers penned a letter to Biden committing to work with him. Donald Trump's children will have U.S. Secret Service protection available to them. A senior U.S. official says before leaving office, Mr. Trump signed a memorandum extending the protection by 6 months. It typically applies to children up to 16 years old. There are about 3,200 special agents in the Secret Service, with an additional 1,300 uniformed officers who guard the White House and other government buildings.
ExactTrack 4D constantly scans for new threats in your neighborhood, alerting you faster than ever when severe storms are heading your way.
Still nothing severe, but rains are going to be heading back our way. We don't see them yet on ExactTrack 4D throughout the entire state of Florida or back out to the west. But the clouds, they're building back out west. We saw a few of those as the sun was going down here this evening, but locally, again, a quiet night on ExactTrack 4D. And I think that's the way it'll play until about 24 hours from now. By then, say tomorrow evening around 3, 4 o'clock, we could see some scattered showers out west. It's a dark night, as you would expect, but the nights are getting shorter. The days are getting longer. Today's high temperature did reach into the 70s, and it's still a very comfortable 64 degrees right now. Light westerly winds. You can see a nice little smooth look at the St. Johns River in the downtown area. Cooler up there toward the north out near Fernandina Beach. St. Augustine also about the same temperature. Inland temperatures still flirting with 70-ish, and that's pretty darn pleasant here. Inland patchy frost, not an issue here tonight. And again, what we'll see here is temperatures that'll come on down by 9 o'clock will probably be easily into the 50s, but no 40s until way late tonight and then early tomorrow morning. As what we'll see here in the hour-by-hour forecast is clouds as we get into the early morning hours tomorrow will start to move back towards us. So it was a blue sky day yesterday and today, but tomorrow we start to see the beginnings of change. First with clouds, super sunny skies in general through the lunch hour. In Georgia, well north of us, or maybe a few sprinkles in central Georgia, traveling north on US 1 up I-75. You may run into a few of those. And then like I said, about 24 hours from now, maybe a few scattered showers near Tallahassee, also near Savannah. But it is overnight tomorrow night, early Friday morning that we see the potential for rain from Jacksonville northward. If you live south of town, it probably won't be nearly as potentially wet, as again the rains will dry up as they head southbound, and that pretty much wraps it up for the rain chances through early Saturday morning. So it's all about Friday. 70, 68, 50-50 chance of rain. Remember, Georgia folks, it's about 100% chance of seeing some showers as we get through Friday. Saturday and Sunday, not dry. We'll talk more about this coming up here at 10 o'clock, but I'm still also loving Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. More on the forecast at 10. News continues, though. We'll be back right after this.
The state of Florida is surpassing 1.6 million confirmed cases of the coronavirus. Nearly 12,000 new cases were reported today by the Department of Health. The percent positivity for cases yesterday was 10.73%. Duval County added 440 new cases, Alachua adding 150, and St. Johns County reported 124 new cases, and Clay County recorded 96 new cases. Covering St. Johns County now, where more vaccine shipments are on the way. The county made that announcement today. More than 1,900 doses of Pfizer's vaccines are coming. The vaccine doses are being given to seniors ages 65 and older and frontline healthcare workers. Registration to get these vaccines will open at 9 a.m. tomorrow, and the appointments will be on January 22nd, 25th, and 27th. You can make an appointment by calling the number on your screen, 904-295-3711.
The CDC says more than 13 million people in the U.S. have been vaccinated. 15.7 million total doses have been administered. More than 2 million people have received their second dose. So far, more than 31 million doses have been distributed. Well, many people are disappointed because there was no winner announced in the Mega Millions, but that just means there's another opportunity to win even more money.
After the break, we'll tell you about the historic level that the jackpot has risen to. The Mega Millions lottery is now worth nearly $1 billion. There was no jackpot winner in last night's drawing.
This means the jackpot has grown to $970 million. The cash option is a little more than $716 million. That is the second largest jackpot in the game's history. The next drawing happens this Friday. I wonder what it'll grow to between now and Friday.
A lot.
Thanks so much for joining us.
After the break, we're going to bring you the first press conference from President Joe Biden's press secretary, Jen Psaki. That's right here on News4JAX.